So as you can see, we've got diversity on this panel. I want to kick it off with both Gayatri and Chris. As entrepreneurs who also have your feet in investing, you've got your feet in both camps, right? And camps, right? And Gayatri especially focused on sports, and we're at All-Star Weekend. Can you talk about how that experience has impacted your investing philosophy or how you approach that? And you can talk more about the sports side too.
Yeah, sure. So I was told I'm the first partner in a sports fund, or one of the few partner in a sports fund. And
okay, wait, we have to, come on, let's give it up for that. That's.
Thank you. We have a very global, diversified approach when it comes to investing in sports. We are very well known in Europe, Israel, and now we are focusing in the US. But when it comes to investment, some of the driving principles that we look at is what's the founder market fit, product market fit. But when I'm writing the check, do I see the trust? Can I see that entrepreneur had that conviction and the ethos that's going to take that money and create that company? So when I came personally in sports, I come from a deep tech background, having worked at HP and IBM. A lot of my venture capital friend told me it's a career suicide because there's not many fund out there. And it is very sad because initially I was a little bit hesitant also, but when I did my research, I was literally surprised, like as an entrepreneur, how difficult it is to raise money. Now it's multiply that by 10 times or 100 times when you are a sports startup entrepreneur, because the only way you can raise money is to go to the sports players or the owners, or later on you can go to PE funds or hedge funds. So the problem in the sports area is that there are not many funds out there that are helping the entrepreneurs. And most of the other VC funds, they are looking at this area as like, okay, may not be the part of my investment thesis. And I saw there's a problem, and like me, there are a lot of other funds that are taking these opportunities in the sports, and our focus is that can we create sports as a new asset class, for investments, so that we can bring more capital deployment in this space. And as you know, as an entrepreneur, you see like you're in a, as if you're working in a silo. Everybody's fundraising except you, and we want to support those great entrepreneurs all around the world. Yeah.
So to follow on that, you said it's way harder, exponentially harder maybe, in sports tech. So what's your advice to people who are maybe in this crowd about how to break through the pack?
So obviously, people will talk. As I said, like people will talk about founder market fit, product market fit. We think that as a venture capitalist, ideas are cheap. It's all about how you execute those ideas. I think that's very important. And when you are fundraising, I think it's also important to understand the founder-investor fit. A lot of founders, they approach me for cannabis or others. I'm not the investor in that sector. We are investing in technology where sports is one of the use cases, but it can go into other verticals. And we work closely with the owners and the clubs all around the world. And for us is that we want to see that entrepreneur can bring that opportunity into existence, especially when executing that startup. Because at an early stage, we are not investing in economics, we are not investing in products, we are investing in people. So that's important for us.
And I've heard that many times, you're investing in the person. And so Chris, since you've also been an entrepreneur and investor, you've got both experiences. What is that for you? What's that philosophy? How has your experience as an entrepreneur and someone who bootstrapped, by the way, it's, you know, not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, so I think as an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur in this room, surround yourself with other entrepreneurs, both who are kind of going through the fight at the same time, trying to figure out really hard problems that don't have kind of a simple, concise, clear answer. But also find entrepreneurs who've kind of been there and done that and kind of worked through those really hard challenges. And so for me, I love building businesses, whether I'm doing that or I'm supporting another entrepreneur doing that. And I really love it if I can kind of have skin in the game and be an investor and be there for whenever that entrepreneur calls with some of those challenges, some of those problems.
So do you feel that's an advantage then?
It's a huge advantage. As a bootstrap entrepreneur, you know, I was bootstrapped here in Chicago in 2006, 2008 because
it's 3
there was no
o'clock.
capital. Like the world today looks very different than it did at that time. And so I bootstrapped kind of because I had to, and it certainly worked to my advantage. But it's interesting today because I play in like enterprise, software, digital health, marketplaces, where it's the opposite problem of sports, where there's so much capital. And I'm having to, it's crazy, I'm having to compete as an angel investor. I had a meeting 2 months ago with a digital health investor who had people just writing, here, take this check, like take my money. And I discovered about 20 minutes into the lunch, it was an interview of me to see if I'm like a good enough value-add investor. And I was like, that's actually what you should be doing. Good for that person. So to answer the question, yes, it's a tremendous advantage to be an investor and also have that entrepreneurial experience.
Do you feel that you know how to work with these entrepreneurs much better because you understand their struggles? And has it led to the successes on the investing side for you?
Yes, absolutely. I can certainly relate. I can certainly be helpful. You know, I'm working with one of my companies who's here in Chicago, going through a sale process. You know, you've kind of got that light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I'm going to do all this hard work as an entrepreneur. I'm going to build my business, and you know, if that's the desired outcome, which for a lot of entrepreneurs it is you want to go sell to that big giant corporation. And so one of my entrepreneurs that I've invested in, I mean, I'm getting these calls, like as soon as the term sheet comes, the LOI comes, oh, the CFO wants to have this meeting, how should I be thinking about that? So kind of to my initial point is, as an entrepreneur, surround yourself with other entrepreneurs.
Okay, perfect. Thank you both so much. I do want to make sure that we shift over now to Marisol because you focus on responsible investing. How many of you in here know what responsible investing is? Okay. So a few. So a lot of us can learn from Marisol today. Can you just define what it is now, actually, and what you work on?
Well, there have been many definitions, and everything started maybe in the 70s when people, particularly what is called norm-based approach, based on your beliefs, you say, I don't want to have exposure to certain companies, and now has been evolved to a more integrated approach where environmental, social, and governance factors are taken into consideration from every single investment decision. I want to ask the audience, how many of you already have a business or are planning to But just raise your hands and say, how many of you have a business or want to create a business that not only generate profits but also makes a difference? Yes. All of you. Okay, good. We are on the right plan. And that's exactly what has been happening in the pension landscape. We are moving away from a risk-return profile portfolio. People, investors want to see outcomes, positive or negatives. How much of my money, of the capital I allocate, I'm making a difference, or I'm making an impact, either negative or positive. And when you mention it's difficult to raise capital if you are an entrepreneur, yes, it is. I think it's because you investors, and we try to shift that. When I say we, it's because we can influence the way asset owners invest and allocate the money. They are pushed to generate return on a monthly basis. And impact investment is long-term investment. If you're going to raise capital using past data to forecast impact, that doesn't make sense because you only can measure impact after you make the investment is one thing. And second, asset owners are now moving to consider that, and they are, if you are looking for high net worth individual, family office, or an institutional investors, you need to assess the risk profile, and the first thing probably you need to say to the investor is how much is likely you lose. Then you create a story around your business, and then you can talk about returns and impact. Especially impact is very important. 4 key elements is people, is purpose. You need to have a purpose in your business. Why are you doing it? What is the reason you want to go into business? People, planet, and profits.
And Marisol, how is it right now? What's the trend in educating investors about responsible investing, and how willing are they, especially when, as you point out, you have to sort of make the investment first to see the impact before you then see the data and the numbers? I imagine there might be some resistance there.
It has been resistance. I think the resistance comes from the lack of knowledge. And we are, because we develop tools, when I mean tools, we develop DDQs. DDQs are the sets of questions that you, an asset owner, ask an asset manager before being shortlisted. And those questions start from, do you have a policy? A policy is like a formalized statement of your responsible investment approach. Do you have governance? Do you have the people in place to develop and implement that policy? When you have your investment process, when you go to allocate capital, you do have a risk assessment of how your company or your portfolio will be affected, for example, by the environment. And the last point is reporting. You need to disclose your practice. Disclosure leads to transparency, and transparency will lead to accountability. So we run a lot of educational campaigns. People are afraid to say, I don't know about something, but you need to break that barrier. Keep it simple. Sometimes if an investor doesn't understand the concept, he's not going to invest. So keep it simple. Education, if you want to drive change in anything, the key is to start educating people.
Is this the same as impact investing?
Responsible investment is an umbrella, so it covers ESG incorporation. ESG incorporation includes ESG integration. ESG integration is the systematic approach to consider environmental and social and governance factors. And then you have a screening. In a screening, you have norm-based approach, which is based on your it's mainly from religious or your own beliefs. You say, I don't want to invest in certain companies. You have a screening, positive or negative. You also have exclusion, so say I don't want to invest, for example, in tobacco companies or fossil fuels. Mm-hmm. And then within the screening, you have thematic, and which is I want to invest only in clean tech companies, and you have impact now, impact investing, and you also have another important aspect, which is stewardship. Is if you own a security, how you make sure that you exercise your votes, if it's applicable, or to drive change, so engage with companies.
Thank you, Marisol. I appreciate that. It's a lot to cover in a short amount of time. But to open it up to everybody, too, and Gail included, because we're talking about impact investing or just the positive sort of results you can achieve through investing, there are some people who've said, well, companies only act badly because they're handsomely rewarded by it. So let's put in some mechanisms into place in the market so that we can, incentivize positive behavior and positive results. Do you believe that this is, where are we in that? Is that taking off? we do see a lot more companies talking about, being conscious of the earth in the future, for instance.
I can start with the technology side. I think we are seeing a lot of technology considered more like a threat, like AI and data analytics. But I feel the incentive side from the investor is that asking the right kind of questions. Like if Facebook has come like 10 years ago and they're asking like, hey, do you want to connect with us and invest in some great platform where you can connect with your friends every second. You can get to know about the celebrities every second, but you don't know the dark side that your data is being sold to the marketing companies. Your data is being sold in the black market. So asking those right questions for an investor is very, very important. We should not be driven by just the returns, but there are a different kind of impact investing that can happen in the technology sector also. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And Gail, I mean, are you teaching the kids this? I'd love to hear more about what you are bringing to the classroom when you're talking about investing to kids.
So I know you wanted me to mention about kids. I deal with a lot of kids in foster care, and that's what I know you mentioned backstage.
Right. So Gail has a very wonderful history, and I wanted Gail to talk about how her personal experiences have led to her
And it's so funny. When I met Stephanie today, my name used to be Stephanie.
Oh.
Now it's Gail. Yes, I didn't tell you that backstage. So I was given her for adoption. I was in foster care. And now what I try to do is just care for others. And I invest in others. Like, really, what you're saying is people over profits is basically what we're trying to say, to make an impact. And that's the best investment in the world. So I have a money camp. I started like 26 years ago because I think you take a holistic approach when you invest. So the thing is, so I invest in young people. That way we take them to meet Warren Buffett. We divide them up like stock. We divide them up small cap, mid cap, and large cap. Elementary school students, middle school students, and high school students. And we actually teach them everything from the value of themselves first, then the value of one another, and then the value of the company. And before you learn, thank you. So that's what you learn about first. So you may not know each other's name, but you know the value. So by being in foster care, at first they said, I'll just say this. They said I'll never walk or talk ever in my life. So I was in foster care to foster care home. Finally, somebody took me in and loved me. And I always say love means let obstacles vanish effortlessly. So the first thing you learn in my money camp is don't ever love anything that can't love you back. Money cannot love you back. Stocks cannot love you back. It's all about investing in people, making an impact. And that's what it's all about. So I teach the kids about how it's basically impact investing. And then they actually pick their own stocks. And their portfolios outperformed everybody's portfolio as these kids. Like they did. So every year, now we go and we take them to, Berkshire shareholders meetings. They learn that they are a shareholder. They walk down. Matter of fact, this year we bought them all Disney stock. And we went to the Lion King, the premiere. We hosted it. And they walked in as a shareholder. But your outfit cannot cost more than the stock. So to make an impact, it's like, oh, look, I'm an owner. So the kids, whether you're 8 years old or whether you're 18, they walked in as the owner of Disney stock. So it makes a big difference. It makes an impact. Then they research Disney stock. So it's kind of like they research their companies. They look at how many shares the CEO, how many shares, the owners of the company have. So anyway, that's the way they look at their stock. And they learn how to become, and the word opportunity is the word unity. They cannot do anything alone. So the only way you have an opportunity is you come together. So they never exchange dollars for hours. They know success leaves clues, but they know to have an exit strategy. They know exactly what to do. And the main thing that they do is look at their all-star team, since we're talking about All-Star Week, and they have their own personal board of directors. So they have people on their board, where's a life coach, people to do research. Like everybody up here should be on their board of directors. Everybody up here, now you guys are on my board of directors, you don't even know it. But anyway, because they can write the check. That doesn't happen in the African American community. Anybody know that? You have a business? If you're a minority, it's difficult. Like you said, they're lining up to get checks. I'm like, where? Where is this? But the thing is, I'm right? And for women, so you got to look at it that way. So it's a whole different world for a lot of us. And it is. I know, it's a different world. That's all I got to say. So I want to bring up our kids so they can sit on the board of directors of these companies. So when they buy the stock, they write the stock letters. How can I become an ambassador? How can I win in the sports industry? Like, hey, you playing basketball in high school, middle school, let me become an ambassador for, Under Armour, Nike, whatever. And then they get the stuff for free. That's what my kids learn in my money camp. So they own the company, they do different things. So anyway, and then they sit on the board and they can make an impact by sitting on the board. So anyway, that's all. I'll shut up. So anyway, I'll just shut up because in foster care I say I never walk or talk, and now I never shut up. So anyway, because I received love. Okay, sorry, Stephanie.
No, don't
Okay, go
say
ahead.
sorry. That
Okay.
was amazing. I love, right?
Okay.
And by the way, Gail, I think literally touched everything in my notes. I think you seriously, that's perfect. So we can now have an open conversation, which is
Okay.
better. I think first, though, I want to ask about these kids. You're bringing them to Warren Buffett. What is that
Yes.
like? I mean, and how did that
Oh.
start?
Oh my God, you know how it started? I ended up, and Donovan Sue, I don't know if you guys know who he is, so I'm his mentor. So I went to a football game in Miami, and there's, Warren Buffett sitting there, and this other guy, I forgot his name, but he was a quarterback, some big time guy. Anyway, but I'm gonna end up talking to Warren Buffett the whole time because I teach my kids success leaves clues, so I study Warren Buffett and his whole portfolio and everything he owns. Some they were talking to him the whole game, and then I said, "Hey, you like football?" He said, "No." I'm like, "Good, me either." So we ended up talking, and I asked him, "Can I bring my babies to his shareholders meeting?" He said, "Oh, well, yeah. Let me talk to my secretary." Maybe about 20. By the time we got done, I was like, 35 kids. Let me bring 35. So anyway, so we caught the bus. We did the whole thing, and so we go as we get shirts that say investor on it and their kids' names. It's so sweet. But do you know we still came in because I take all kids from foster care and all over, and there are a lot of African-American kids. It was mostly all African-American kids from the city of Detroit. That's where I'm from. And, people kept coming up to us. Are they going to perform? What are they going to do? It was so sad. Then Warren Buffett did a documentary on my kids last year. They went in. They was like, "Hey, let me get your autograph. Hey, we want to..." All my kids were the stars at the Berkshire shareholders meeting. It was so amazing once Warren Buffett did a documentary on my babies. So, but my kids learn how to play golf and everything because most deals are made on the golf club. They learn about sports. Anyway, they do everything.
Okay, so I mean, I could spend hours
Those
talking
are my-
about this.
I love my babies, yeah.
We don't
Okay.
have that, but for the
I know,
people who are
sorry.
interested, no more sorries. This is
Okay.
really great stuff. But
Okay.
I'm sure everyone's actually very excited to learn more. Where can they go to learn more about this program? If they can, replicate it in their cities, where can they? Is there a website or something, or do they just call you, Gail?
Yes, I mean, you can reach out to me on the gram. No, I'm only kidding, no. You can reach out to Erica Uzzo right over there. I know. She helps. She's been with me since she was 12. And now she runs the camp. So, yeah, so she does that. Yeah, so. But a lot of my young people come back. We invest in them, and then I haven't had a vacation in 25 years. So all I do is take off and take this camp, and now they're doing the same exact thing. People come back, and they do the same thing, and they invest. So talk about impact investing, it goes full circle. So if you want to know about it, Gail Perry Mason, you could see me afterwards or get it, or Google me, whatever. Yeah, find it. But look at the Warren Buffett documentary, please. I
What's
encourage
it
you to
called?
look at
What's
it.
it called? The documentary?
His last one, Warren Buffett teaches something like that. So
What was that?
Anyway, just Google Warren Buffett last documentary or
MSNBC?
whatever. So
Okay, it's on
so awesome.
MSNBC. Okay, there we go. Perfect.
Yes.
So we'll all watch that when we first
Yes.
assignment. Okay.
Yes, please do that.
Talking
Okay.
about impact, though, right? And I know Gayatri spoke on it too. Chris and Marisol, do you want to add to that? I mean, we've got social, benefits happening in different ways on this panel. So.
Yeah, no, I guess I know we have a number of entrepreneurs in the room. In something that Gail said, and a kind of theme is people. And we're talking about impact investing, and it is certainly to help people and humans in general. But, we're talking about investing, but a really important piece of all this is the human part of the businesses and the entrepreneur. And so, something... I'm gonna harp on two themes. One is people, and two is surround yourself with people. It can be so lonely to be an entrepreneur, right? You're the head of the business. You got to be the duck where you're cool, calm, and collected above the water, and below you're paddling like hell just to keep the lights on. It's really, really, really hard. And we're not gonna, no matter how much money we want to invest as investors, if the entrepreneur and the team can't do their job, it's all for nothing, right? Like, you are the agents of change. You are the ones that, as investors, we depend on. And there's no Berkshire without Warren Buffett. Like, you know, be your own little Warren Buffett, your own little Berkshire. Like, so, like, just you got to stay. You got to be good. Like, you have to surround yourself with good people. You got to take care of yourself mentally, physically, and it's so easy as an entrepreneur for the last 14 years. Like, there were long stretches of time where I'm not making the best decisions for me or my family or the business. Like, if there's a way where I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make payroll in 2 weeks. Oh, but we could kind of push this forward or that forward. And, you know, you don't want to be sacrificing the wrong things. Like, just surround yourself with really good people.
Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for that, Chris. Obviously, we're hearing about how life experiences have shaped some of the decisions you make in investing, right? Do you, Gayatri, Marisol, Gail, do you want to add to that sort of topic, you know, investing in people? I know for you, of course, for instance, an advantage has been your experience in foster care. You also were, I remember reading, 1 year shy of graduating college because you gave birth to your baby, right? Mm-hmm. And you worked your way from that to now being Senior Director of Investments at Oppenheimer, which is a brokerage and investments firm. You know, talk about that.
Yeah, well, the parents who adopted me were older, so they didn't get a chance to go to college. So I ended up just, you know, going to parties at a few colleges, and that's how I picked my college. But anyway, so I ended up getting pregnant in college, and I did. So I had my son, he graduated from, so I do have a degree from Wharton, Georgetown, University of Michigan, because I paid for those degrees for my children. So anyway, yeah, so, and I got kids, you know, Generation Y kids, like, you know, why I gotta pay rent, why I gotta do this. So but the thing is, so I ended up, you know, having my child, and yeah, so it's different from, you know, just the average way. So I was broke, and a brokerage firm asked me to, you know, come for an interview. And I'm like, it's God, I'm broke, brokerage firm, get it? So anyway, and I was a receptionist, a lot of talk. Anyway, long story short, so fast forward, I ended up just copying somebody's books at a Series 7, and I didn't know copyright laws at the time, just don't copy my book. Anyway, so I didn't know copyright laws, so I ended up copying, passing the test, and they made me a licensed secretary. And then I put on a seminar with Melody Hobson. I don't know if you guys know who she is, from Chicago. So Melody Hobson was an intern. I was a secretary, and we sat there and ended up opening up 200 accounts with John Rogers that night for their aerial fund here. So, and that's how I started. I went to my job. I was like, bam, I opened up 200 accounts. They're like, we don't want these little bitty accounts. So I cried, and anyway, they said, we'll give you 90 days. You can try to be a broker. If you don't make it. Anyway, fast forward, I became senior director. That's all. So anyway.
That's all.
So, but that's my story, and I did it because I wanted to teach people who look like me, women who look like me. I want to teach them. It takes a little bit. Start investing. Start doing things. Invest in yourself. Pay yourself first so you can pay others. That's what really counts. And I don't want anybody to be poor. Poor means pass over opportunity repeatedly. So if you have an opportunity to learn about investing, an opportunity to learn about venture capital, an opportunity to learn, you will never, ever be poor.
What was that again? POR? It's
POR, pass over opportunity repeatedly. And this, because of this seminar, we're not passed over because of this. This is where people need to be during this time. So I just want to thank, you know, Barron, everybody, for just putting this on. I'm honored to be here. That's all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gail. Since you're talking, Marisol, did you want to add something?
Yeah, just talking about stories. So I'm originally from Colombia. My dad was a farmer, and that's where the inspiration to make business that changed people's lives. So I moved to London 16 years ago. Didn't know anybody. I didn't speak the language, and you know, for those who are living abroad, being an expat is noisy. And I make my way through. I work for free for a year just to get experience as a consultant. So if you know more or less inside you what you want to do. It's about believing that you are capable, and ask people, always put your ideas out there. Someone might listen to you and say, okay, I like what you're doing. So it's about expanding your comfort zone, and don't be afraid, and have confidence in yourself.
Wow, that's such a, wow, you did a lot. You moved, yeah, let's give her a round of applause. It's a brave thing to do. How has that, so I know you were inspired to move because you wanted to have a better life and to help others. How did that help push you forward to, creating opportunities for yourself?
So I study engineering. So I say I want to learn how the stock market works because my dad used to sell his crops, and the price was based on the stock market. I say I need to go. So I did a master in financial engineering in London, and so I learned about how quant models work. And then I say the way that I can, influence or change the markets by working with pension funds. So I start working with pension funds, advising them how they allocate capital to alternatives. And I haven't finished it yet. I'm still working. I want to work with farmers. I want to help. There is a way that you can create maybe the word of derivatives. You can change it and make a derivative product. And educate people is not as complex as it looks like, but you can develop things that they can make a difference. So I haven't finished. I'm still working. And I work, as all of us, are work in progress.
Absolutely, thank you. Something also that has been touched on is women and minorities, people of color. So I know, Gayatri, for instance, you are part of, or you created She VC. Can you describe what that is for the audience here?
Yeah, I think representations matter a lot. We want to see the people like us, and we all know 2.2% status quo that is with the women founders, and we all want to change that. And most of the women you will find they're either in the associate or the principal role, and rarely in the partner role. I think the focus is that can we talk about the change, but also see can we talk about representations. And I think sometimes we women don't do a great job in telling our story, and that's why I started that platform. But also there are great men who are champions of women also. So I think telling the stories when they're getting told, so people who are sitting out there, oh, that's exactly my story, and I can be that person. So I think that matters a lot, yeah.
Wonderful. And one liner on, I've just been given the rap cue, unfortunately, but what is She VC? It's a
So She VC is a storytelling platform, and it is in partnership with Women in VC community with 1,700 other VC funds across 46 countries and with HackerNoon. So it's just telling the stories of great women founders, entrepreneurs, and also male founders and entrepreneurs, because how they're supporting the woman.
Perfect. Okay. So before we go, I'd like for each of you to give maybe the best sort of advice, whether it's life or business advice or investing advice that you've ever gotten, so we can leave that with the crowd here today. We can start with anybody.
Everybody looking at me. Okay, I just think everybody should drink, steal, swear, and lie. That's what we need to do. Drink from the everlasting cup every single day of your life. Steal a moment at a time to help someone else out that's in worse shape than you're in. Swear to be a better person you were yesterday, and lie down and just thank God every single night. That's it. That's my advice.
Moving from a centralized economy to a sharing economy, marginal costs are going close to zero. There is plenty of opportunities out there. Investors are now looking for companies that make an impact. Diversity and inclusion is a key factor. We want to see more female, more diverse cultures in running business. And if you have an idea or if you are working on something, just stick to that. Believe that you can do it. Raising capital is not easy, but it's not impossible. If you build a story around your business, people in the end will invest in your business because they trust you. And if people will trust you because you believe in your own business.
Well, thank you.
My piece of advice, it's brand new. It is, if Gail has an acronym for it, write it down and live by it.
I love that one. Okay, that's a good one. Those were really good. Yeah, we're gonna need to create a list, okay, after the conference and put it up.
My piece of advice is, when I started, I did not have a mentor. I didn't even understand what VC is. I started angel investing at 31, was a successful entrepreneur, and then like worked my way up. And I think the most important is learning and have a very diversified approach towards your learning. If you want to be a VC, it's not you read all the VC blogs, you also read other things, because having that mindset of an investor or an entrepreneur, it's very, very important. And it's the mindset where you are absorbing and taking the feedback. I think that's very important.
Thank you. So if I'm gonna, okay, so I'm gonna sum it up for you guys. It's invest in people, people over profits, and listen to Gail. I think that's the, I think that's the, all right, let's give a round of applause for our panel today. Thank you so much. Thank you.